This instructional video provides guidance on how to use the Victorian TAFE Association Calculating Teaching and Assessment Time tool. This tool will assist TAFE institutes in preparing for the annual work plans. The MEA gives provision for the allocation of duties and associated hours to be categorised and allocated within an annual work plan. The agreement outlines that teaching staff are accountable for 1,748 hours of teaching and other duties. Teaching duties at an annual maximum of 1,200 hours are further categorised as follows. 1. Teaching delivery face-to-face, online or by other means, and supervision of students to a maximum of 800 hours annually. And 2. Preparation, planning, curriculum development and assessment undertaken prior to, during and at the completion of a student's course of study. The Victorian TAFE Association has prepared this presentation and toolkit to assist in distinguishing between teaching delivery, preparation, planning, curriculum development and assessment. The outcome of these calculation tools will assist in the development of the annual work plans. These tools provide guidance in calculating assessment time and gives an estimate of time based on a number of factors which may affect the time teachers take to assess students. The tools are designed to calculate the delivery of assessment time for each training program. This can then be used for multiple teachers who deliver the same program or can be adapted for each learner cohort and different programs. The VTA have developed a number of other resources to assist TAFE institutes, teachers and managers to implement the changes to the calculating and preparation of work plans. Resources available include the Calculating Teacher Delivery and Assessment Time User Guide, the Calculating Teacher Delivery and Assessment Time tool, a facilitator guide, a facilitator presentation, and of course these instructional videos. Before we go through how to use the tool, it's important to ensure the development of the annual work plans and calculation of delivery and assessment time are conducted in accordance with the following guiding principles. The first is accountability, that teachers and their supervisors are accountable for planning the programs and justifying the assessment time, and teachers and their supervisors are accountable for planning and implementation of the new work plans. Evidence-based. Calculating time for assessment is based on evidence and supported by documented processes, and teaching and assessment time is calculated against benchmarks. Fairness and equity. Estimates of time are based on fair and reasonable grounds and are equitable to ensure teachers' times are calculated fairly, and calculations of time use comparable inputs and ensure equitable measures across similar programs. And finally, collaboration. Calculation of assessment time is conducted with collaboration from teachers, their peers, their supervisors and managers, and assessment time and metrics are moderated prior to the implementation. Before we start using the tool, we need to prepare to use the tool and agree on what types of data and resources will be used to inform how we calculate teaching and assessment time for each program. We could use a range of documents and data that may already be in existence to assist us in calculating the teaching and assessment time. Some documents may include the training and assessment strategies, session plans and timetables, projected student numbers, and the assessment tools and assessment instruments. To access the tool, go to the VTA website where you can download the documents, the user guides and other resources. The tool is an Excel spreadsheet, and when opening the tool you'll be asked to enable macros. Make sure you do select the Enable Macros function, as this will ensure all of the functions work properly. When you open the tool, you'll see that there are 4 tabs on the bottom of the spreadsheet. The first tab opens the cover sheet. This is where you'll provide the information on the program or course and any particular cohort or delivery method. This section can be customised to reflect the nomenclature of your organisation. For example, if you want to change the program name to course name, you can change it here. This will then be reflected throughout the document. The next tab is the Calculations page. This is where you'll be entering the hours of delivery and estimates of assessment, preparation and planning. Before you begin to enter data into this sheet, it's important to customise this sheet for each of your programs and the number of units or clusters that will be delivered. To add extra rows, you only need to press this button and extra rows will be added automatically on the calculation sheet and the program summary sheet. If you have not enabled macros, this button may not work and you may have to add rows manually. There's a short video tutorial available on how to add and delete rows manually. The next tab across is the program summary sheet. This sheet provides a summary of the delivery and assessment time that is brought across from the calculations page. And finally, the last tab provides a link to the user guide, which will assist you in using and customizing this tool. The user guide is available through the VTA website and provides examples and case studies, which may give you further guidance on how to use the tool. Now, let's have a closer look at the calculations of teaching delivery and assessment time. Once we have the required amount of rows to accommodate the number of units or clusters that are part of this program, we can start to populate this sheet. There are three main components to this calculation sheet. The first part gives provision to list the units of competency or clusters for each program. This section can be customised to suit your institute or department. The next section, in green, is where we list the timetabled teaching duties. This is where we'll list the total hours that have been timetabled to be in the class or workplace. And note that these hours at this stage may include the timetabled assessment time. The data and input metrics for this section may be found in your training and assessment strategies, session plans or timetables. The next section in blue is to list the assessment hours. And given the variation of assessment methods in vocational education and training, we've given provision to differentiate between the different assessment methods based on three broad categories. This table lists the three categories of assessment types in vocational education and training. First is direct, and this is where the teacher or assessor would be undertaking assessment tasks and making judgments of satisfactory performance or competency through direct observation in the class or workplace. This time may include where the teacher is required to supervise students undertaking assessments, for example if they're supervising an exam. The next category, delayed, refers to when teachers are undertaking assessment activities away from the student outside of direct class time, for example when they're reviewing projects or written answers. And the final category, third party, refers to the assessment time which consists mainly of reviewing evidence provided through third parties, such as supervisor reports, checking and confirming results from automated online assessments, or where teachers are undertaking assessment activities related to the recognition of prior learning. There is also a final column which will allow you to list the number of hours that are estimated to be allocated to the preparation, planning and curriculum development. This can be for each unit of competency or cluster, or you can aggregate it for the whole course. The table on the screen now is provided in the user guide and will assist in differentiating between the assessment types. I'll now go through an example of how the calculation sheet works. The timetabled class time should list the total time teachers are in the class or workplace undertaking teaching duties. Let's say, in this example, the teacher is timetabled to be in class for this unit of competency for 5 hours a day for a 5-day week. This should give us 25 hours of timetabled class time. The session plans indicate that the last day of the week is scheduled for assessment, so the students are undertaking assessments and the teacher is undertaking direct observation during this class. So in this example, direct assessment in class is estimated to be around 5 hours. As the assessment is direct, that is, it's conducted in the timetabled class time, the hours for assessment are deducted from the timetabled class time. The summary on the top of this sheet now indicates that the teaching time is actually 20 hours and the assessment time is 5 hours. As the teaching and assessment time is conducted in the timetabled class time, the total teacher program is still 25 hours. If the teacher had to mark or correct assessments outside of this assessment time, this would then be added to the assessment time and program time. In this example, let's say that the teacher had to assess the student's project which they submitted at the end of the week. We'll assume that it takes the teacher about 10 minutes to assess each project, and it's projected that the teacher will have around 6 students in the class. That would give us 60 minutes of marking outside of class time. This 1 hour would be added to the out-of-class marking reviewing. As you can see now, in the summary in the top of the sheet, the teaching time is still 20 hours, but the assessment time has increased by the 1 hour. The total program time has now increased to 26 hours as there was an extra hour of assessment which took place outside of the timetabled class time. When we now look at the program summary sheet, we see that the information for this unit is provided as a summary which can now be used to develop our annual work plans. There are other examples and case studies provided in the user guide which give guidance on how to calculate assessment time for more complex delivery and assessment types. For example, where a teacher is assessing and teaching in the same class, or where we might have rolling enrolments. The outcomes from using this tool and estimates may produce results that vary from teacher to teacher. To ensure that the outcomes and input metrics are as accurate as possible, the results and outcomes should be validated to substantiate and confirm the accuracy. To validate the outcomes, teachers, supervisors and managers should ensure there is collaboration amongst those who are responsible for the planning and implementation of each program, and benchmarks are agreed upon to ensure reliable and consistent outcomes from the tool. As the assessment times may vary depending on the student numbers, program changes, requirements to undertake reassessment and other factors, the results should be revisited regularly and validated with actual student numbers when these are available. The information provided from these tools can now be used to inform the development of the annual work plans. The VTA have provided a template annual work plan, and these give provision to detail the teaching time for each course and the aggregated preparation, planning, curriculum development and assessment time for each program. For a range of tools, user guides and tutorials, go to the VTA website where you'll be able to access the full suite of resources to assist in the implementation of the MEA.